Hi and welcome back to Candyfloss Crochet. Today we're going to be working on square 2 of the tile blanket. So this is our square, and as you can see we're starting off this one in the middle with the colour Aster, followed by Cloud Blue, Royal, White, Duck Egg, and finishing off with Mustard. You do need to make 8 of these, so what I would do, as I've done in the previous square, I will write a brief pattern description in the description box below, and I will also put on there the time of each round. So once you've mastered, say, the first round, you can skip to the round that you want more support with. So let's get started, and as I said, we're starting with Aster. And we have to do a magic circle to get started on this. So I'll very quickly run through a magic circle for you. So put your yarn over your hand, grip it with your thumb, wrap it around the back of your hand, under your thumb so it's crossed over, back across the top, back under that thumb just to hold it in place. Taking your hook, insert your hook underneath the first yarn, grab the second one and twist it up. Then grab the yarn again, the same yarn that you just did, and twist it again. You can now remove your hand and you're just slip stitching one over the other. Then taking your end, you can pull your end in so you've created your magic circle. Don't worry about this end here. You will basically weaving it in as you go when you create your stitches, and then you'll use this one to tighten up the center of your circle. So to start off, we're just going to chain 3. And by the way, I'm using a 4mm hook. So 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to work another treble into that magic circle, and then a second treble. So I want 3 in total. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now do chain 1 and work 3 more trebles. That's your first, second, third, chain 1, and keep doing this until you have 8 sets. So including your very first one, you need to have 8 sets of 3 trebles with a chain 1 in between. So don't forget that chain 1, because that's the stitch you're going to be working in. So as you can see here, I've started off with my starting chain, 2 trebles, chain 1, 3 trebles, chain 1, 3 trebles, just done my chain 1, and I'm back in to do another 3 trebles. So if you want to pause the video at this point and carry on working 3 trebles, chain 1 until you have 8 sets. Okay, so you should have now worked all the way around, and you should have 8 sets of 3 trebles with a chain 1 space. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this is my last one here. So don't forget the last one, you do your chain 1 before you slip stitching into the top of your starting chain. So just going into that one. Slip stitch into that one, and that's the end of that row. So you can now snip off that yarn and pull through. Now we finished our circle, and we have now got 8 sets of trebles with a chain 1 in between, and I've kept my circle quite wide at this stage. And we're now going to be working our cluster stitches here in Cloud Blue. So I'm going to show you how to do a 5 treble cluster stitch, and we're going to be working into the chain 1 space. So make sure you've got 3 trebles between each of your clusters, and we need 8 clusters all the way around. So pick any of your chain 1 spaces, insert your hook, slip stitch through, and then we're going to work a treble, but we're going to do a 5 treble cluster. So just watch this one, and I will go through a couple more with you. So yarn over as though you're doing a normal treble, go back into the same space, yarn over, pull through 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, pulls at that point, yarn over again, go back into that space, yarn over, pull through 4 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 of them, 3 loops left, yarn over and go back in, yarn over, pull up, and you've got 5 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, 4 loops left, yarn over, insert again, yarn over, pull up. Now you've got 6 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and you're left with 5 loops on your hook. One last time, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up, and now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yarn over, pull through 2, and you should have 6 loops left on your hook. At this point, yarn over, turn your hook down, pull your yarn through all 6 loops, chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Find your next chain 1 space, so your 3 trebles, chain 1 space, and work another cluster. So let's do that again. So yarn over, so you're doing a normal treble, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. You're looking to have 6 at the end. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. We've only got 5, so we've got to do 1 more. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. 6 loops left. Yarn over, pull through all 6, chain 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll do that one more time with you, and then pause the video and work all the way around so you have 8 clusters, and I'll show you how to finish off. So one more time. So remember, with these you're just doing a treble, but you're stopping halfway through. So yarn over, insert into the next chain 1 space, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. So you do, that's your first time, second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one, and that leaves you with 6 loops. So you're doing it 5 times to leave you with 6 loops, which you can then yarn over, pull through all 6, and then chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So pause the video, make sure you have 3 trebles between each of your cluster stitches, work all the way around till you have 8 petals, and join me at the end and I will show you how to finish off. Okay, so you should now have finished that row, or almost finished that row. You should have 8 cluster stitches and have your last chain 6 still on your hook, and you're just going to slip stitch your chain 6 into your starting cluster. So just at the top of that cluster there, just slip stitch it in, and that's the end of that row. As you can see, I've still left the middle quite big. I'm just going to snip off this yarn, and we're now going to move on to our next row, which is our 3rd row, and that is with royal blue. For this one, you need to join your yarn at the top of your cluster. So let me just point that out. So we're going to join our yarn here at the top of there. So I just want you to grab hold of your new yarn, create your loop, and slip stitch into the top of that one, chain 1, that doesn't count as a stitch, and then back into the same space, work a double crochet into there. And now we're going to be working into our chain space. You're going to do 7 trebles into this chain 6 space here. So a standard UK treble, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and you're working 7 of those into that chain 6 space. It's going to get crowded in there. So that's my 4th one, 5. So let's pull my yarn out. 6, and the 7th one. And then to anchor that one down, you're going to do a double crochet into the top of your cluster, which is here. So I hope you can see that one there, just into that stitch there. Do a double crochet into that one, straight into the next chain 6, and you're doing 7 trebles into that chain 6 space. That's 2, 3, 4, 5. If you find you'll run out of space, just scoot them along a bit. 6 and 7. And as before, working a double crochet into that chain, top of your cluster, to anchor it down. So you should start to look a bit like this. Work all the way around, working a DC into the top of the cluster and then 7 trebles into each of the chain 6 spaces, so you have 8 petals. So pause the video here, work all the way around, pause before you get to the last bit, and I'll show you how to finish off this round. Okay, so you should now have worked all the way around, and you should have 7 trebles with a in your chain 6 space with a double crochet in the top of your cluster of the previous round, and you should have 8 petals. So let's just finish off this round, and then we're going to be starting with the next one. So just find the DC you started with and slip stitch into the top of that double crochet, and you can now snip off your yarn for this one, and you've finished with the royal blue. Pull that one through, and your next colour, or next colour I'm going to be using, is the white. Okay, with this one we are now going to be working, so let me show you on this sample here. We're going to be working to make it more of a square, because we've got a round at the moment. Sorry, my camera's wobbling. We're going to make it more into a square, and we're going to be working trebles with chain 1s in between, and then jump into the corner where we're going to be doing double trebles with chain 1 in between and 3 trebles in between that. So pick any of your DC spaces, doesn't matter which one you want to start at, and join your yarn and chain 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4, and this counts as a treble and a chain 1. Then work another treble into that space, chain 1, next treble into the same space. Oh, sorry, I split my yarn there. I'm just going to do that again. So next treble, chain 1, and your 4th treble into that space, chain 1. Okay, those chain 1s are really important because we're going to be working into those in the next one. So you had your chain 4, and your chain 4 is the equivalent of 1 treble with a chain 1 space, and then you have 3 trebles with a chain 1 space in between. Jumping straight to your next double crochet stitch from the previous round, and you're going to work a double treble. So that's yarn over twice, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2, chain 1. Do that again, double crochet, same space, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. This time we're making the corner, so we're chaining 3, back into the same space, and you want to work another double crochet, chain 1, double crochet again, and that creates your first corner. Okay, so as you can see there, that's going to be our side, and that is going to be our corner. You now jump into our next side and finding the double crochet on that one, and working 4 trebles separated by a chain 1. So treble, chain 1, treble, chain 1, treble, chain 1. So that's my 4 trebles separated by a chain 1, and I'm now, let's pull my yarn out a bit, I'm now going to be working another corner. So this is a double treble, so you're jumping straight to the next double DC from the previous round and working a double treble into that space, chain 1, another DC, sorry, I think I did a treble there, let me just do that one again, double treble into that one, chain 3 to create my corner, double treble again back into that same corner space, chain 1, double treble, back in there. It's created my second corner, chain 1, and then you jump into the next one to do your next side. So it should start to look like something like this with your side building and your corners, and work all the way around doing a corner, then you jump into a side, which is 4 trebles, corner, side, and all the way around until you get round to the end, and meet me back there and we will finish off this row. Okay, so you should now have worked all the way around. You should have done your last corner and you have your last side. So you're just going to join them together by slip stitching into the top of your starting chain. So you identify your starting chain and slip stitch into that one, and you can now snip off the white yarn. So at this stage, don't panic because it does look a bit curly. Mine will probably look exactly the same as yours. It's a bit curly. But if you find your corners and you put your thumbs in them and pull them out, you will see it will lie flat eventually once we've put all the extra rows in it. So that's the end of that row. We're now moving on to the 5th row. And with this one, we're going to be using our duck egg blue. And we're going to join it in our chain 3 corners. So it doesn't matter which corner you start in. So if you do a slip stitch into that corner, and then you need to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, that's going to count as a treble. Chain 3, oh sorry, then do another treble into that corner, chain 3, pull my end out, and then 2 more trebles into that corner. I'll show you in a second what we're trying to achieve here. Okay, so that's our first corner done. So we are going to be working, that's our corner there, and we're going to be working along into the chain 1 spaces all the way along. So that's why it's very important to make sure you didn't lose those. So we need 7 stitches between our corners. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches between each corner, and in each corner 2 trebles, chain 3, 2 trebles, and then you chain 1 onto the next one. So as I said, chain 1, find your next chain 1 space, which is here, and you're working a half treble into that one. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3, chain 1. Oh, chain doesn't want to go through. Let me do that again because I've split the yarn. Certain yarns or certain colours seem to do that. So just do my chain 1 there. So yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3, chain 1. My next chain 1 space, and you're going into the space, not the stitch, half treble, chain 1. Next one's in here. So this is between now in my centre side, half trebles all the way along and a chain 1. Chain 1, next space, chain 1, half treble, chain 1, and I'm back to my corner. So if I lie that out for you now, you've got your corner and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches along the edge, and I've reached my corner, and I'm going to work, once I've done my chain 1 on that one, so 2 trebles, chain 3, another 2 trebles. That's 1, 2, chain 1, and you jump into your next chain 1 space, which is here, half treble, chain 1, next chain 1 space, half treble, chain 1, and then you're into your middle again. So you're working 1 in each one of these all the way along, 7 half trebles with a chain 1 in between until you get to your next corner. So if you pause the video at that point, work all the way around and join me again, and I'll show you how to join up this round. Okay, so you should now have worked all the way around, and you should have your groups of trebles with chain 3 between, and in between those 7 half trebles with a chain 1, and you should be on your last part now. And you just need to do, I've done my half treble there, I've done my chain 1, I'm just going to slip stitch into the top of what was my chain 3 from my first stitch. Slip stitch in, and then you can snip off this yarn and then pull through, and that's the end. So we're on our final row now, and we're going to be joining our mustard yarn. And what we need to do is create an edge of 23 stitches between our chain 3s in the corner. So we're doing UK trebles again, and we're going to be working into the top of the stitches of the previous row and the chain 1 spaces. So I'll just show you how we're going to do that. So pick a corner to join your yarn, it doesn't matter which one, slip stitch in and chain 3. That's going to count as your first treble of that corner. Then you work another treble, chain 3 to create our corner, and then 2 more trebles into that corner space. So that's our very first stitches. Okay, now we need to work all the way along here, and I'm just going to point this out to you. It might be easier for you to see. I'm just going to pull up my end there so I can get my hook out the way. So it's quite important, as I said, that we get 23 stitches. So on this side, I've already got 2 stitches on this side started, and we're going to work into the top of the next one. So if you remember on that previous row, we didn't do a chain 1 in between. So you're going into the top of this one here and the next one, into the chain 1 space, into the top of that stitch, into the chain 1 space, into the top of that stitch, and so all the way along. When you get to the end here, don't forget you're working into that chain 1 space there, and this stitch here, and this one before you finish off with your 2 trebles, chain 3, 2 trebles in that corner, and that will give you a count of 23. And it's UK trebles all the way over. So let's get started with those. So we're going into our first one. Sorry, my end is getting in the way. And we're going into the top of this stitch, the UK treble, no gaps in between now, no chains in between. We've done our first 2 stitches, and now we're into our chain 1 space. So you're going into that space, and then we're onto our next stitch here and working our treble into that stitch. Then we're working into our chain 1 space again, then into the top of the next stitch. Sorry, I lost it then. Then to our chain 1 space, top of our next stitch, chain 1 space, our next stitch there, chain 1 space, top of the next stitch. That one was more difficult to get into. Chain space, next stitch, chain space, our next stitch here, and that brings us nearly to our corner. So don't forget this chain space here, and we've got 2 left. So into that top of that stitch, into the top of this stitch, and then we're at our corner where you're doing 2 trebles. So I'm just going to finish this off, and then I can show you the count. Chain 3, and then turn in the corner, you're working another 2 trebles to start off your next row. So I'm just going to pull my yarn up there so you can see. So that's one edge done. So I've got 2 trebles here, which I'm not going to count. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So between my chain 3 spaces, I've got a side edge of 23 stitches. So work along, all the way along. So don't forget the first one here and the next one, there's no chain space in between those. And then you're doing 1 in each chain space, 1 in the top of each stitch, all the way along. When you get to the end, this is where most people go wrong. You've got a stitch here, you've got a chain space, but you've also got 2 stitches here. So let me get my needle, I can show you. So you're working the top of this one. You're going to work 1 in this chain space, and then you're going to go into this stitch here, and then into this stitch here before you do your corner again. So work all the way around. You should have a count at the end of 92 stitches. So work around and I'll show you how to just fasten off the last bit. Okay, so you should now have worked all the way around, and you should have between each chain 3 spaces 23 trebles. And once you get to your last one, you can just slip stitch into the starting chain that you started with in the top of that starting chain to finish off the end of this row. Snip off your yarn, and if you haven't done already, as you may have noticed as I've gone along, I have been weaving in my ends purely because I think it helps you see what's happening. Your center circle, you can pull it in a little bit, but what you'll find, the more you pull it in, the more it buckles. So I quite like it with quite a bigger hole in there. On this one I pulled in quite tight, and I think it's puckered it slightly, so even though when I block it, it's not going to lie perfectly flat. So I think the best way to do it is to leave that circle reasonably big. So pull it in a little bit, just a little bit, just so it doesn't look too big, so that it still lies flat, and that is the end of your second square. So good news is, great news, you've completed this square. You've now got to do 7 more of them. So crack on with those. I will write in the description box below the pattern for each row and the colour changes. I will also timestamp on the description so that if you want to jump to a particular row, then you can jump straight to that part of the tutorial. And the very next step after that will be joining the 2 sets of squares that we have created. So that's part 3, and putting a border around them. So hope you've enjoyed watching this video, and keep tuned for the next one, for the next stage of our tile blanket. Thank you for watching.